We want to welcome everybody back for round two or session two of Nine Insights for a Happy and Successful Life. This book is written by Dr. Mitchell Gibson, and we are going through it each chapter. And today, chapter two is our focus. So, chapter two's insight is the energy of your life will be consumed by the forces of chaos and order. The choices that you make will determine which force dominates your life. Well, we have this is a very profound and powerful lesson. Number two has a lot of things that we have to consider here, simply by how we create our reality, by how we use our awareness, how we focus our awareness. I call this the law of focus. But I know that Kim, you have put out about 3 or 4 questions for today. So let's start with question number 1 that you derived from chapter 2 of Nine Insights.
Well said. If we consider the first insight along with the second, ask yourself how has your perceptions about money shaped your finances? How often do you say or think that you are poor without enough resources? And how many times have you said to yourself that you are wealthy? This can also be applied to your state of health and many other things in our lives. So basically, I just tried to tie in the first insight with the second one, and then also stretch it out to the fact that a lot of times, like we say, you create your own reality. How many times do you tell yourself you're sick? How many times do you say negative things about your reality rather than positive? We always say we're broke. We always say I'm sick or I don't feel good. But how many times do you ever talk about what's positive in your life?
Okay. Well, let's talk about that. And but I think that to be consistent with the chapter 2, we need to look at this in terms of how do we feed our consciousness with positive and or negative things, chaotic and or creative ideas, or orderly, constructive food.
Right.
In the Bible, it says death and life are in the power of the tongue. So to a large extent, we're either feeding chaos into our life, into our consciousness, or we are feeding life into our consciousness. And I think this can be applied as well as to money, you know, and to other things, health, as you said. Anybody want to talk about that right now?
Well, I know when I was reading the chapter and what it was about the first time that I read it, it surprised me because, like the girl in the book, Evelyn, right, the girl in the chapter, I have always been obsessed with like these mystery stories or whatever. They weren't like, and I think maybe the thing that saved me was from experiencing the same thing that she did was that they weren't like violent, kind of things, but they were always like mystery kind of things, where suspense. I've always liked suspense stuff, and then I thought about how much I used to watch Lifetime movies, and I haven't watched a soap opera in 2 years, but no, a year, yeah, because I read this book a year ago. I haven't watched soap operas in a year, almost 2 years, because I read it in May. But I thought about things that happened when I was younger, dramatic, just things like it was just always drama. I've been watching soap operas since I was 6.
And so the result is you became a drama queen because of the things that you have been reading.
I didn't say that, but I thought about some of the relationships and activities and things that happened in my life, and I was like, what? That's crazy. Just crazy stuff. And then I thought about the fact that I have been watching since I was 6 years old shows where people got pregnant by their cousin's dead twin brother and found out that it was really their father and stuff like that. So I really stopped watching soap operas. I was like, I cannot watch this stuff because it is crazy. And then I thought about a lot of things that happened that were so operatic.
What I found profound in this book, and then I'll let the rest of y'all share your experiences. I know we have some people who shared their experiences who wrote into our reading club. This woman, Evelyn Ashmo, was living in a town called Brewster, Nebraska, of a population of 29. 29 people. That's not a lot of people. And yet she kept attracting these, bad men in her life.
Right.
And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that probably for the same reason I like soap operas. We're in a small town here in Pine Bluff, if y'all didn't know. But life was simple and plain. You want some excitement, and so you would go to that excitement in a book or TV.
And
not
you're
thinking
telling
how
me
it was gonna
that
affect her life.
you really believe that how you feed in terms of books you read, movies you watch, can actually go from what you watch on a screen or read in a book influences your life and causes you to imitate what you are reading. So in other words, art influences life.
Yes.
I believe that.
Why you believe
it can.
that? Why you believe that? Why you believe that? Are you saying that nobody should watch a horror flick? Nobody should watch a murder flick?
No, and
action
and
stories?
that's something that now I don't watch soap operas like I used to, but every once in a while I still watch something, a Lifetime movie, something like that or whatever, But the obsessive way that she had it involved in her life, it goes back to a discussion that we had last week at Bible study about building a frequency. That when you build a frequency, when that's all you do, when every time you pick up a book out of your bag or everything on your electronic device is something where there's violence and murder and you start to build those
I understand
thoughts
that.
in that.
But you know that the people on soap operas and in movies and in books are not real people. These people don't exist. They're not real people. They're only imaginary characters.
There are a lot of people who get so involved, so involved in these, enmeshed in these people's lives. You see them every day.
So you're telling me that fiction has that
and
kind of power whereby a character that does not exist at all is a made-up character, a thought form, if you will, that they can actually influence real space-time human beings?
How many of you have ever read a book or seen something on TV or went to a movie, and when you left out of there, it touched you so much emotionally that it moved you to do something?
Yeah.
I need to know what.
Or
You guys agreed to that. Now tell me what. What did you read?
You can even take an example like the Bible. You have some people that take these stories so literally that they want to go out and we're going to kill all the Jews because or we're going to kill all of this ethnic group. And that is where they are in their mentality. Or they really believe the end of the world is coming, so they stock up ammo and food.
Maybe they're crazy people.
Stuff.
Maybe they're just mentally unstable people. Because a lot of people do read the Bible and they don't go out there and try to...
A lot of people don't, but some do.
Well, when I watch martial arts movies, I work harder, I practice harder, because I want to be just as good as the person I saw in the film. So it doesn't always have to be something negative
that comes from it. Yeah,
you can get something positive out of it.
Okay. So going back to the Lifetime example, basically that's what's wrong in relationships. Too many women are watching Lifetime where it's always anti-male. The man is always wrong, and he ends up getting beat up or killed or whatever. And that's what's wrong with women today because they are watching too much of that Lifetime.
Let me tell you why that is true. because a
Oh,
lot
I
of
said it was true.
what a lot of
Some of it.
Lifetime movies tell you is based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, not having anything to do with relationships, but I'll tell you an experience, again, that I had, because this was my life. It was, crazy, emotional, soap opera, drama stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my first child, I made everybody, we had a video camera, I made everybody in the room, we videotaped name tags. I made his father follow them as soon as they took him out for a test and stuff. I made him follow and record every step they made.
Why?
Because I had watched so many Lifetime movies that said babies had gotten abducted or switched.
Yeah.
And that was all I could think about. You can ask my friends. We
Oh,
call them now.
I'm
That was all I could think about for like the last 3 months as I'm nesting and stuff. I'm like, y'all make sure y'all watch my baby because they might take him. Somebody might take him. Somebody might switch him. Please take him. I made sure we had those footprints on our clothes as soon as we could. I was like, I'm serious. That was that thought consumed me. And you have to think about how many women sit around watching Lifetime so much that they created the Lifetime Movie Network.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
now
true.
There's 2 channels full of that. And then another channel, and all these
that's
other
true.
movies are built around women and the relationship struggles and problems that they have. But I know from the things that I've been doing over the past year that, yes, where your attention goes. Right,
Energy flows where attention goes.
Right. And when you focus, the more we focus on, oh yeah, that's it, when we're watching a movie or something, yeah, man, they just like that, then yeah, you kind of attract that, and you notice all of those things about them. And I was listening to something earlier today that said, you kind of create that because you see the negative things in another person, but what are you doing, to make sure that, you're okay, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay. But you're focusing so much attention on men are like that.
Let's understand, what is, unless any of you guys want to add to that, anything you want to add to that, Florence?
Well, I was going to say, reading this chapter made me think about a situation that I was in. It wasn't something that I read or something that I saw on TV. I guess it was my thoughts. I went to someone's house for a cookout, and the person's house was huge, like 7 bedrooms, 4 baths. And I'm like, okay, now what if I get sick? I need to know where the bathroom is. And as soon as I asked where is the bathroom, they was like, we have one here, here, here. And I said, okay, well, let me just go. And as soon as I got to the bathroom, I got sick. And I just vomit all over the place, just weak. And I thought to myself, did I make myself sick? Sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm in this huge house. What if I get sick and I don't know where the bathroom is? I don't want everybody to see me get sick. And as soon as the little girl showed me where the bathroom was, I got sick. Mm-hmm.
What is the science behind this? I think this is very important to understand the things that we allow to enter through our eye gate, our ear gate, become a part of our human experience. That somehow or another we create our reality.
Mm-hmm.
What is the science behind that? Is it simply that we are just gullible and weak-minded? Or is it really possible that we really do shape our reality by what we feed our consciousness or feed our perspective with? What do you think, Kim?
I think we do. To go back to the physics experiment or the double slit experiment, it showed us that nothing exists until you focus on it.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing that, we really have to pay attention to the people that we surround ourselves with, your home environment, everything that you allow, everything that's in your circle. I always say in your circle or whatever. You really have to pay attention because not only are we creating our lives and programming things by what we say and what we read and all this kind of stuff, there's a lot of subconscious stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
that we are not aware of. And I think that's where the danger lies, the things that we are not aware of what we're feeding into our psyche. Those are the things that you can't, those habits become old and you can't break it because you don't see it, you don't know what you're doing. And so that's kind of goes into number 2. And I was like, what are some things that you can do to reprogram that? How, first of all, how do you even bring it out? How do you bring those subconscious things out? How do you even know that was in you? Because just like the example in the book, like Evelyn, this is something that she considered to be fun. She wasn't thinking this was something negative. She's like, I'm just reading a book.
Right.
So this is something that she was subconsciously doing. It wasn't something that, well, if I watch a scary movie, something scary is going to happen. It's never that overt. It's never that clear. It's always something that, that we do that we're just kind of like, oh, this is harmless. Like she said, she likes to read books and work in the library. I get to read books all day. That's, on the surface, that's good.
Right.
That's a decent job. She can go to the library. She can, read, and everybody say, oh, read. It's a positive thing. But there was something subconsciously going on there that she wasn't aware of.
And I think that's the key word, the subconscious. If we look at it like a pyramid or an iceberg sitting on the ocean, our conscious mind is that part that we see, of the part of the pyramid that we can see. Up under the surface of the ocean where the pyramid, where the iceberg exists, up under that is the subconscious mind. It represents a large portion of our mind. Dr. Bruce Lipton explains that the subconscious mind, it absorbs everything. It takes in everything, without discrimination, without putting a judgment on it.
Exactly.
It takes it in. And that becomes the basis for our beliefs, our convictions, our perspective. It's the subconscious mind. And it's said that the subconscious mind is 10,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. So in religious work, it's called the heart. So that's telling us right there that the key to making transformation, or the key to understand how we are what we are, is to go into the programming of the subconscious mind, the software, if you will, of the subconscious mind, and begin to feed into it a whole nother set of ideas, and then deeper up under that is the unconscious. But that becomes critical in terms of how we make real change and how we understand what we are. What is the society, for the most part, how is it programming us to be, and our community to be what it is, with violence, with ignorance, with lethargy, with illness? Have we ever considered that? That somehow or another, that we live in a world that really understands this principle. That either you're feeding your mind chaos or you're feeding it order. You think about an industry that we just talked about called Hollywood. Hollywood. The magicians would use their wands, and it said they made their wands from a holly tree, Hollywood. Therefore, the movies, for the most part, not saying they all are bad, but somebody understands how movies and the mind work. So how would you, because all of you are mothers, how would that reality, or that understanding, that science understanding, or that metaphysical understanding, how would it influence what you allow your children, who are very susceptible to influence by these powerful industries, music and other things? How does this affect in terms of you reading that chapter? How does it impact you? Or does it at all?
Yeah, it does. Because I have my oldest daughter. She loved watching vampires and werewolves and all this type of stuff. And if she watch it too late, we get up 2 o'clock in the morning because she had a nightmare, and she's thinking that that is reality, just something that actually happened or is going to happen. But when I started talking to her and asking, okay, what was the last thing you watched? It's always something that she just watched on TV and she'll dream about it. Or like my 6-year-old will listen to certain things on the hip hop radio station, and she gets to saying curse words and don't even realize that they're curse words. So I have to turn. So you really do have to watch and pay attention, and this really makes me want to be more aware of what they're looking at, even what they're reading. You know, like Kim was saying, reading. You know, go ahead and read, baby. You know, but you really have to pay attention to what they're watching and what
We have to
they're
become a little bit more discriminatory in terms of what we allow, particularly for the younger person is whose mind is almost like a blank slate to a certain extent, but it's not blank. But there are all types of archetypes, if you will, that are embedded in the unconscious mind that can be triggered to come alive in the child.
Oh, and this one show, 16 and Pregnant. A lot of the students that I teach, the girls anyway, they were coming to me saying that the girls at their school, they listen, they watch this stuff, and they think it's okay and they make it look like it's fun, you know, to be 16 and pregnant and have a baby, and you know, so they're thinking, okay, this must be cool. Is this okay? But you know, you really have to pay attention to the things that they watch, even something like that, because I'm sure the people were thinking, if we video this, we show them how difficult of a time that these children are having, but our people don't see that. They look at it like, oh, this is cool, this is fun, you know, they getting to get out of school or whatever, you know, they think the fun thing is about it.
It is said, let's see how I respond to this, it is said that between the ages of 0 and 5 or 6, for the most part, you know, a child, particularly between 0 and 3, they are in a hypnagogic state. They are basically in delta state of consciousness, which means they spend most of their time asleep. But at the same time, they are soaking in and absorbing everything in the environment. And it is said between 0 and 6, the basic foundation of a child's personality is established by what they have absorbed and observed in their environment. Now, as adults, and like I say, everybody here is a parent of somebody, how does that reality, realizing what we have said, insight number 2, that the energy of your life will be consumed by the forces of chaos and order. The choices that you make will determine which force dominates your life. So in other words, we really are engineers. Parents are actually engineers of the kind of children that they will actually send out into the world.
I think, you know, we're talking a lot about the media, about books and things like that, but that is a very important influence of the chaos and order and what's going on with our children and our lives. The people, like Kim said, the people that we're around and the people that we allow to be around our children, the situations that we allow our children to be in, to see, you know. I know, you know, growing up in, you know, around in a nice house in the middle of a not great at all neighborhood, you know, I saw things going on that I should not have seen at that age, you know, in the neighborhood. You know, people running around with guns and, you know, drugs and all that kind of stuff, but they didn't bother us. We played in the midst of it. We played amongst it, but it desensitized. That's right, but it desensitized us to the point that when we saw something happening, we walked by it.
Absolutely.
You know, it, and then as we saw it on TV, it didn't mean as much, you know, to.
It became normalized.
As we talked about our children, when they see things or people say something to them about drugs or they find out somebody was killed, they're like, oh my God, you know, because they are Disney Channel kids, you know, they are Nickelodeon kids. They, you know, still sing Barney songs and stuff like that. I'm sorry if my kids' friends are watching this, that's not true, but you know, they are in a different zone, you know, compared to some children who unfortunately are and their parents are you know, letting them watch adult themed TV shows.
So do you think that
or see
we
them in
should,
adult situations?
do you think therefore our action should be politically organized, whereby we want to censor what can be played on the radio, what can be shown on television?
No.
Do y'all support
But
censorship?
I self-censor my children.
Right.
I censor my
But you
children.
don't think that you should establish a social policy
No.
for everyone?
No.
But why wouldn't you want that, considering the fact that you know, no man's an island, no child's an island unto themselves, and that when you send your kids to school, into an environment, you send them into an environment that has been, to a large extent, degraded and corrupted. Wouldn't you think it'd be socially responsible for there be some standards of what's appropriate that society has to follow in general to protect the mass of children?
Well, I think that's a slippery slope. Once you
How
get
is that
into,
slippery slope?
because when you get into censorship, then you get into each person's values and moral systems.
But
And what I think,
okay, go ahead.
what I think is not, you know, okay for my children to watch, or is not okay for me.
But you don't think there should
That
be
may
a
not
common
be-
a common good?
How are we going to decide that?
I think that we can determine that by simply looking at that what I want for me. I would also think that it'd be good for you in terms of or what is good for all of us. I mean, for example,
Well, it's not. What's
I
good
mean,
for
I mean,
you?
I mean, I mean, the thing is that what we want life, we want liberty, and we want the pursuit of
Well,
happiness.
that's my liberty.
Well, my point is the freedom to be able to, it comes with responsibility.
That's true.
In other words, if we see a generation of children growing up and they think violence is normal and to be expected, well, something's wrong with that.
Well,
If we see a generation of underage kids think that, being pregnant and 13 is normal in a society that will penalize them for not being prepared to enter into adulthood, that is something wrong with that. So there should be something that says that children's reality and world should be protected.
Okay. But that goes back to the thought, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Okay, if I grew up in a neighborhood where those things were happening, and now it's on TV, did the TV influence my neighborhood, or did my neighborhood influence the TV?
That's what we're saying. We're saying art.
We didn't
art
have
is
cable when I
influencing
was
life.
little. We didn't have cable when I was little. All I watched was
But
Saturday morning cartoons.
other people
they
had
didn't have
cables.
TVs.
Well, they had TVs when you
No,
were little. You're
no,
not
I'm
that
saying, I'm talking about the people that I knew did not have a television set in their homes.
So your
Yet they
point
were
is
fighting all day long. I'm saying that they did not get it from television. Everybody does not get it from television.
That's true.
And they
But
were
there are
not
other
great
means
readers.
of communication.
They were not great readers.
There are billboards. Why do you think?
We
why do
didn't
you?
have billboards.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I
Why
did.
do you think?
There were
Why
not
do you think
billboards.
that
We did not live in the city.
they
There were
removed
not billboards. And
cigarette ad billboards out of the neighborhood or
Right.
alcohol ads out of the neighborhood? They realized that this stuff and how things are advertised, Joe Cool on cigarettes
Right.
and everything, was influencing young people to experiment with cigarette smoking early.
And their uncles and aunts and moms
Television
weren't
advertising.
influencing them.
That's true too.
Well, they were influencing them as well because I mean it's a whole psychological industry built upon marketing and advertising.
I'm just
That's-
saying, censor a book or television, censor your house. You're gonna have to censor that too.
But we live in a community. What do y'all think? We know Shelley.
That means
Shelley's
when we
liberal.
bring y'all in here, I don't want y'all hear none of y'all cussing or see y'all drinking or smoking in front of my kids. They can't watch it on TV.
I
Go
think
ahead.
Shelley's right because when you do that, you're in a mode of retreat. I need to retreat from stuff, and we also know that like what you resist persists. So you develop these communities where, well, we don't want to live in a community. I want a gated community. Let's live in a gated community away from
but
everybody else.
What y'all
And
advocating is
then-
lawlessness.
Nobody said
No, we're not
that.
saying laws.
If you don't have laws
No,
for the
that's not
common
what you
good
said. You're saying
and the protection of the innocent,
You're saying should we censor certain things?
well, that's
or should
laws
I'm not
censored.
saying general laws. We're talking about censorship. We're talking about retreating from communities. We want to hide from these problems. We don't want these. I don't want
And
my
we
child to
didn't
go to
say
public
When
school.
they
I want
put-
to go.
at all.
I
when
wanna
they
put
put
them in
on
this little
music
school.
labels like M for mature,
That's fine.
or
It
when they
gives you
put
an
when they
option.
put an aura on a movie,
Right.
that is an indication that this is not child appropriate.
Right. That gives you an option. It gives
Right.
you the choice. And then that
It gives
choice
you a
is
choice.
your business.
Right.
But if you take all of those things
No.
away completely,
If it's the business of, I mean, for example, if a movie is rated R or X or yeah R or X or whatever, and your child, 13-year-old child, goes up to that movie, buys a ticket, and the person at the ticket counter allows them to buy a ticket and go in and does not say, "Show me some ID."
that's
If
right.
if a person goes into a convenience store and asks to buy some beer and they're underage, that store is liable.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that was
I'm
a
glad
problem.
you mentioned that. There was a situation at the movie theater like a couple of weeks ago. A 16-year-old went up to purchase a ticket for a rated R movie. They asked for her ID. She said, "You don't know who my parents are." Her parents have big titles.
Wow.
She called her dad. Her dad came and purchased the movie and was getting ready to walk off. They told him, "No, you have to go in with her." So what he did, he purchased a ticket, went in, and as soon
then
as the
left.
security turned it back, he left. So I mean, you can try to censor things.
Yeah, but he broke
There's
the
a
law.
general-
But he
general
broke the
rule.
law
Mhm.
and everything. So I'm not saying the law is going to keep law breakers from breaking laws because it doesn't. Laws are for law-abiding people.
Mhm.
Crooks are going to break laws.
But I'm
So
saying
my point
it's
is,
not
do you
about the
say
negative neighborhood.
do you say that because there are people that will break law don't have law? I mean, you're parents. What do y'all want? What kind of world do you want to create? Because we are talking about we create our reality. What type of reality do you want to create?
That makes me think about why we decided to even put our children in private school. We wanted to put our children in the environment in which we wanted them to have to deal with. You hear so many horror stories about the public school settings and all that goes on in them. Initially, when we put our boys in the private school, it was because, like you say, if you come into a setting, you don't bring a knife unless you plan to use it. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you bring it, be prepared to use it. So I figured if we put our kids in private school, then they will give them some sense of
It will
foundation.
shelter them.
Yeah. But I realized at some point, that's not going to get it because they still have to be able to maintain in the environment where everybody's in it. Because you got the same set of people there, it's just not as many. So I see what Shelly's saying and I see what you're saying. You have to be able to maintain. You can set these laws, you can set these restrictions, but at the same time you have choice, and choice can override those
That's right.
restrictions.
That's true.
You see what I'm saying?
That's true.
So-
It still requires obedience and to require supervision and responsibility.
Right.
The law is not going to save you just because it's on the book.
Right.
Right. I agree.
And private school's not gonna save my children just because I thought that was what was gonna. You see what I'm saying?
So that brings us to a critical transition. That means that we have to figure out a way in how we can use this same concept of how observation and focus on things that are negative and or positive can shape consciousness.
Right.
We have to ask ourselves, how can we as parents engineer a positive consciousness in our children? What type of material, what type of sounds, what type of books and other things should we have in our environment that can bring the force of order
Right.
into our children's lives. So what are they? What are some ideas for the people that are listening and who want to understand how that insight of number 2 can give them a happy and successful life? What would you all recommend for yourself as well as for others to build a healthy, a positive, a orderly experience in life, since we are creators of our experience?
Wow.
Ooh, it starts at home.
Okay. Start me at home.
It starts at
What can
home.
be done?
You you have to know your child. You have to know their character traits. You have to be able to try to steer them in a positive way, rather than have it being channeled in a negative way. You really have to know them so that they won't it won't be expressed negatively. You have to watch what they read.
Let me put something out there that may stimulate your ideas. I know y'all know this stuff, but you're probably not thinking of it. Let me put something out. What can be the impact? Because I know it has impacted my life, and I know it's impacted all of your guys' lives. What can be the impact of just simply playing something like the miracle prayer in your home,
Right.
That is, in the presence of your children? You was about to say something more?
Well, I was going to say you need to develop a practice with your children, a spiritual practice. So one thing that I know we don't do as much with our children is meditation, and just like you were saying, playing the miracle prayer. I think that opens the child up. It opens them up a lot, because first of all, you're hearing a prayer, and you're hearing it in a very authentic language, and to them it's like, whoa, what is this? I mean, the music that's playing, I think when it comes on, the boom, yes, that right there, that gets their attention, and I think that is a step to put them on the path.
Okay.
I think what you're saying is to try to use some things that can train them subconsciously.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's something that I do with my daughter. To give you an example, I play, several of these CDs all the time. They're going in the house all the time, to the point now that, something like the Spirit Attachment, which has a very high-pitched sound. I don't even notice it anymore,
Right.
or neither does she. But when people come to the house, they're like, what is that noise? What is that noise? But we don't even hear it. And things like the Miracle Prayer, the Usnisa Vijaya, I didn't personally know that my daughter was learning this on her own.
Yes.
So something about these CDs is affecting the subconscious of her subconscious.
Because that's what you really want
That's
to
what
do.
you really
Because
want to
that
do.
you want to get beyond the conscious mind
Right.
Yeah.
and go into the subconscious
Right.
mind, because that's where the programming
Right.
is.
Right. Right.
Therefore, we have to deprogram, and then to a large extent reprogram that which is healthy, that which is holy, that which
Right.
is good and right and true
Mm-hmm.
into the subconscious mind, where it becomes what we call automatic behavior.
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
like I was just
No, I was just gonna say, agreeing with what Kim said, for a lot of people, it's as simple as just playing that in the background. Because at our Sunday school class here, I teach the primary students who are 8 and under. And the children who were in my class just today, I had a 5-year-old and 2 6-year-olds. When we went around the room and did our morning prayer that we do, they all did the miracle prayer.
And how old are these children?
A 5-year-old and 2 6-year-olds.
Are doing the miracle prayer?
Florence's daughter was one of them. And what Damir said was, I can't help but learn it. My mama plays it all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't help but learn it.
Right.
She played it all the time.
Right.
And you know what?
Each
That's
one of
absolutely
them said it
magnificent.
individually.
That's
They
amazing.
each said it individually.
Yeah. And my daughter does the same thing.
Just from it
Right.
being played in the background.
Another thing I was going to bring up is once I was at home and I was taking a nap, and when I woke up, she came to me and she told me that she meditated on her own for 20 minutes. So it's like I was so surprised, because I have tried, you can try to make them come and sit with you during meditation, but I realized I was like, that's not going to get it. She has got to want to do this on her own.
Right.
And so I knew, she told me about the time she went into the meditation room and she set the little timer, on her little phone or whatever, and she sat there and she meditated on her own for 20 minutes.
Right.
So, and now things that she watches on TV,
Right.
books that she checks out at school, she'll start to notice little things that I may have said or that she heard at church, and she'll say, oh, guess what I heard? Guess what's in this book? She hears something about magic, or she hears something about...
Speaking about that, what are some books that you would recommend that are good for, adults and or children that will help develop a spiritual consciousness? Any books that any of you in your own personal experience would recommend?
I know one book is really good. It's called Energy Secrets by Ella. She got some different foreign name, but it's really good.
Okay.
It just talks about different energies and how.
Or movies, by the way. Or movies. Books or movies.
Okay, yeah, but it's just basically about the energies. You got the chakras. You talking about the meridians, the aura. The different layers of the aura.
That's
it's
one.
really good.
Name it again is what now?
Energy Secrets.
Energy Secrets. Name another book.
One.
Or a movie.
Some of the books that I bought for Zora is, I noticed that she's very artistic. She likes to paint, draw, everything. So I bought her like a coloring book of mandalas or things like something that she doesn't have to read to make it fun. She wants to color something. So mandalas or a book of mandalas, she can draw and color in that all the time. She'll pick things out on her own now.
Okay.
So stuff like that.
I think that with our children, it's important to expose them to diversity. I know that my boys like mythology, and so they've read Greek mythology and Roman mythology. They've read Egyptian books, and Jared just got a book recently on Norse mythology that he's reading now. So it's a fiction. This one is a fiction book. It's called Room Mystic Magic or something like that.
I need to read that one.
Yeah, it's like a good book. But those, I think that it's good to encourage. Like we were saying, a lot of times people say it's good for them to be reading anything.
Right.
But just because somebody's reading a vampire book doesn't mean it has to be a bad vampire book.
Yeah,
There are
she's
books
found
that
some
are
good
about
ones.
that are about the history or or a different type of story. They're everything doesn't have to be a monster story. You can find books that are fiction for children that will interest them.
But it's
Right.
important. But it's important that a foundation be set
At your house, like
of
they
your,
said,
with
right.
the house within your child's heart and mind.
Right.
That will protect them, because you're not going. They're gonna have to be in the world,
Right.
but they need to be protected. Therefore, the medallions and some of the literature that we have is very important. Go ahead.
That's what I want to say. I think getting your child interested in symbols is
Good
good.
point.
A while back, I let Braylon read Nile Valley Contribution to Civilization. That's by Anthony Brown. And I did that because the book has a lot of symbols in it. It talks about, some of the origins of symbols, and not only that, the days of the week, and just kind of setting a basic foundation for things, because once you go there, it kind of leads you into a lot of other stuff. Right. Yeah. And also Vision of the Black Man by Naeem Akbar.
Okay. I think the movie, a very good movie to decode that I think stimulates consciousness and awareness and feeds in a very positive sense is The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are a lot of good. The Never-Ending Story.
The Never-Ending Story.
There's so many.
What's the
But see, I think it's important that we name them, because it's so easy in our conversation to talk about the bad.
Right.
What are some things that will very nurture consciousness in a healthy
ago,
sense?
Here in church, you talked a lot about things that happened in the movie's Roots. And so the girls asked to watch that, even though we hadn't gotten past the second CD, because it's horror to them, and they're crying and saying, how can people be like that? And, you know, I try to explain to him, and I'm
That's
like,
important.
oh, Lord, give me strength. But I try to explain to him that, you know, we're moving away from those things. We're moving past those things. But I want you to be conscious and be aware of, you know, if somebody is treating you a certain way.
Right.
And because we practice martial arts, we rented a whole bunch of Bruce Lee stuff.
Right.
So, and they know that we don't practice just to go and beat somebody up. But it's a form, it's an art.
Yeah. Enter the Dragon.
Yeah. So we watch a lot of it. Yeah.
Hero.
I think
It's a movie
Hero
that
is
that
great.
very
It's
good.
important that, you know, you balance them. You show them, you know,
Right.
if you're gonna show them roots, show them the Ben Carson story, or you know, movies similar like that where children have gone on to successes.
Right.
You know,
Right.
make sure that they go, and if they start with Roots, that they go through the whole series and watch Queen and see how it ends
Right.
with Alex Haley.
Right.
Right.
You know,
I think that's good too.
right.
Right. Don't just.
First Darkness is a good book.
It's a
Very
great
good.
book.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good.
But
That, you know, that's a good book that
Yeah.
the teens would
The teens
probably,
would enjoy,
yeah,
right,
they would
right.
like reading it.
I think it goes back to knowing your child, because fortunately, no matter what genre no matter what your interest is in, there's something there. There's something in that interest that you can find that's positive,
Right.
or that can speak to them. So I think it goes back to knowing your child's interest, and then, you know, strategically putting those books in the house or the movies in the house. You know what? You just have to tune into some of the things that they like.
But the things
Because-
that you surround them in, that's going to be what they're interested
Right.
in.
Right.
That's
That
true.
goes back
That's true.
to
That goes back to
that
like
thing.
my interests. They're always going to be in the house.
Were there
But I also have to
encyclopedias in
keep
your
her-
house when you grew up?
Yes, all the time. And
I
that's
think
what I
it's
read.
important to have encyclopedias in your you know, in your house as well.
Right.
In the Bible, the Jewish people would put certain signs and symbols over the doorposts of their homes. So what signs, going back to your point, Juan, what signs and symbols, lettering, the Hebrew letters, you know, those are living entities
Right.
that impact people's lives. As a matter of fact, there's a member of our church, I'm not going to call her name out because we're on television, and there's a member of our church who, for the most part, I thought for sure she was not listening to none of the things I was talking about. I went over her house yesterday, and she had the 42 letter, she had the 72 letter name of God sitting on her coffee table in her home. She told me, "See, you thought I wasn't listening to you." But my point is that we have to realize that we have to. Faith comes by hearing, and that's a progressive tense verb.
Yeah.
Faith comes by hearing by the word of God, and therefore we have to stay at it. I think the conscious movie night that we do here is very important, because these movies have the ability to awaken our deeper sense of who we are, and so I think that's good. Anybody want to add anything to that? As a matter of fact, before anybody add anything, what are some of the things I think Sanchia and Crystal have shared with us? Crystal White, Sanchia McDougal. What are some concepts that they have shared?
I know Crystal she stated that she noticed that earlier in her life, some of the choices that she made that attracted chaos into her life. Like she said, she used to listen to a lot of rap music that maybe wasn't so great, hung out with people that maybe weren't so great or whatever. And, you know, like we said before, you don't really think about it because that's the norm. That's part of our pop culture. You know, that's what everybody does. It's on the radio, it's on TV, it's everywhere you go. So you really don't think about it. And so she explained that that's something that she realized and that she changed in her life. Sanchia mentioned some examples about her husband trying to tell her to focus on some happy moments in her life.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that Dr. Gibson has told us before, to write down some of the things that make you
Absolutely.
happy and think about that every day.
That's a very good point. We don't. That really needs to be stressed,
Right.
because it's so easy for us to point out all the pitfalls and the failures that we've gone through in life and overlook
The
the
good stuff.
multiple blessings that
Right. Yeah.
and miraculous acts of grace and kindness that has come into our lives.
Simple things.
Simple
Right.
things.
Simple stuff.
Simple things.
Right.
You know, and I think that we need to make a point to really write them down.
Yes.
Right.
That was one of Camp's questions.
Yeah.
Why
Why
is it so
hard?
easy for you to focus on positive things
On
as
negative things.
much as you right? Yeah,
It's
right.
easy
It's
to
so
focus on
easy for you to
negative.
focus on
Negative.
negative
Right.
things instead of the positive things that happen. You know, and
Anybody
when
got an
you
answer
think
for
about
that? Why is it? Why is it easy? It's more easy for us to
Well, I'll give you.
draw ourselves, be attracted to or drawn to the negative than
I'll
it is
give
to the
you.
positive.
Sanchia's answer was she says that our human egos make it easier to express it because that is the job of the ego, to keep you from evolving. And that was her answer. I thought that was a good answer.
Inside this chapter, I also saw something else that I know all of us have been a part of, and that is the law of attraction.
right.
The secret, the law of attraction, and it can be reduced to three things or three words: thoughts become things.
Absolutely.
Before it is a thing, it is a thought,
Yeah. That was my
and therefore we have to pay attention to the thoughts because they will take form and they become alive
That's right.
right.
entities into our life.
Right.
One of the great books that I have read was a book called 101 Most Influential People Who Never Existed. People think that fiction is just make-believe, it doesn't really mean anything. But if we stop and look at it, we all have been influenced by people or ideas that are shaped like people
Right.
that have never existed.
That's right.
You want an example?
Easter Bunny.
Easter
Santa
Bunny.
Claus,
Santa Claus.
Superman.
The Marlboro Man.
Yeah.
Think how many people that smoked
Right.
Because he looks
because
so cool.
because he looked so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Right.
Joe
Joe
Cool,
Campbell.
Joe
Right.
Campbell,
Campbell.
Right.
Joe Campbell influenced a lot of people because it was cool to smoke
Yeah.
Right.
and everything.
Rosie
And-
the Riveter. You know, back the transition of women's rights.
Yeah.
You know, the woman with the muscle and the headband and
Yeah,
everything, or Uncle Sam. You know,
Uncle Sam
yeah.
was, that's right.
Yeah.
So the point is that mythology or fiction or these ways of communication, superheroes, Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, you know, obviously Superman.
Yeah.
These are multi-million-dollar industries. Captain Crunch, you know, Tony the Tiger. Have parents, mothers, you know, going into their pockets, buying sugary cereals because Tony the Tiger is great. See, I don't think that we really realize how powerful that is, and that in a real sense, they are real. Ronald McDonald is real
Right.
because he's real in our consciousness. We make it real.
Make it real. That's right.
So this was a very powerful lesson. I want to read the habit again as our time runs out. The energy of your life, the energy of your life will be consumed by the forces of chaos and order. The choices that you make will determine which force dominates your life. What are we feeding our subconscious mind? What type of attention are we, what type of intention are we focusing our mind? Energy flows where attention goes. So the more attention or more energy we put toward the chaos, the more the chaos dominates our life.
That's right.
The more energy we focus on the order of life, the more order takes part or takes place or creates into our lives. That's a very powerful lesson.
Yes.
I hope all of you enjoyed this discussion. We'll be back next week. And let's say for next week, let's do chapters 3 and 4.
Okay.
Next week, chapter 3 and 4. So until then, all of you who are enjoying this conversation, we say good night, have a great evening, and we'll see you next week. Say bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.